Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us for our webinar on VoIP and VoIP through Microsoft Teams. We're going to start straight away. We are recording the meeting and are able to share notes and videos afterwards. For anything that you want to follow up on, feel free to ask us questions through the chat. I've got Dan here who's monitoring that. He's going to let me know if it's relevant during the presentation, and if not, we'll have a little question and answer at the end. So my name's Michael. I work at Netitude. I'm the Client Strategy Director. So I look at new technology and I work with our virtual IT directors to go out and explain to our clients what is the latest and greatest in technology and how it can make a difference to the way that you work. I've got Matty here from Gamma, a partner we've had for many years through all sorts of different phone systems, and we rely on them for call quality, reliable communication, and just a really strong and stable partner. So the agenda for today, when I hand over to Matty, is that he's going to cover the evolution of the telephony market. So Microsoft, not traditionally known for doing phone systems. Why are they getting into it? Why is it relevant to us? And how does it work better when you've combined it with Microsoft Teams you might very likely already using? We're going to have a dip into what you can do with the Teams phone system and how it interacts with Operator Connect, which is basically the modern version of a phone line that connects all your calls to the system, and then some of the extras you can do that are really nice you don't necessarily get in older systems: call recording, the analytics, and all the different hardware meeting options you get. As well as that, there's some crossover with Copilot and Teams Premium, but if you are using Teams as a phone system, will help you get even more out of it with transcription summaries. And then finally, we'll come back around and do a quick summary. So the reason we're talking about telephony at the moment is because we've seen a lot of people out there with outdated tech. This is old phone systems that have been sat in the corner of our office wearing away for years and years. And also the impending deadline of the end of PSTN lines, so the old kind of actual cables that go to phone systems. They're being turned off across the country in January 2027. A lot of people have moved on. There's some people that the clock's really ticking to get started and doing something about that. And finally, what we like about Teams and where it moves forward is it being an all-in-one solution. So if you're looking at changing your phone system, people are using Teams for chats, for meetings. If you add it in, it's really nice and simple. There's one, you're already logged in, you've got the same security, it's already on your laptop, and it doesn't matter where you're working. Some of the older phone systems, you may only be able to answer calls properly in the office, and that doesn't really fit very well with the amount of remote working that happens nowadays. As part of our wider strategy that we work with clients on, we look to first get cybersecurity right. We want to protect clients from distractions, from things like ransomware, from fraud. We then move on to technology standardization. So this falls into adopting modern supported platforms. Definitely see a handful of phone systems out there which are no longer supported. Nobody knows how they work. There's no contract. And when you want to change the out of office message, you can't even do that. So it's just no good. End user experience. This touches on making it easy for people to use the phone system, having that fairness of wherever anyone is working, that everybody's be able to answer and cover the phones. It's not just falling on the people that are in the office. And then finally, some of the add-ons cover the digital transformation bit. So if you're running a call center, so be interested in how your calls are going and what kind of feedback you get from clients. At the moment, you probably don't have much visibility of that. But the call recording and conversation intelligence that we can add on, you actually get a huge amount of visibility into things that used to be hidden from you. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Matty to run the rest of the call. Over to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So first, I'm going to start about how is the communications market evolving in the UK. So we've seen a lot of change from, even 5 years ago, but even in the last couple of years, of how businesses are communicating with their customers and internally as well. I'm sure many of you have seen a rise in this within your organization, or certainly in other organizations, where we're seeing Microsoft Teams becoming used more heavily by businesses out there in the business market. More and more businesses are using Teams meetings to speak to clients, speak to customers, using a meetings experience. However, Teams can be much more than that meetings experience, that internal calling experience, that chat between colleagues. Teams can be that one collaboration tool for an organization. And that is what we're going to use today's session to really talk about. Microsoft Teams can be that single platform for communication across your business. Some of the key features that it entails include things like the presence. This presence goes an awful long way. It enables you to see the presence and status of any of your colleagues, regardless of whether on an external phone call or an internal phone call or a Teams meeting. That one single platform really helps you to be more productive, more efficient as an organization. The other thing that I'll touch on is that the feature set of this platform is enormous. It's evolved enormously over the last 5 years, even the last couple of years, and there is constantly new features coming to this platform. So if you haven't seen Teams as a telephony system, hopefully we can give you a bit of insight of what that can do and how that can transform business communications on today's session. But before I do get into that, I just want to really highlight some key figures. There's about 350 million global active users using Microsoft Teams every single day, with 11 million users using it in the UK, which shows the stability of the platform and the reliance that businesses have on this platform. And that ability to use telephony for phone calls within Microsoft Teams enables that unification and ease of use as an organization. But why are we seeing businesses adopt Microsoft Teams? Well, there is 5 core reasons why I see that. Number one is that unification of one single platform, that familiar platform that you may already be using, and using that in a slightly different way by embracing telephony as well. But one of the other features that I really want to highlight of why people are moving to Teams for their telephony system is that it is feature rich. Call queues, auto attendance, voicemail, all of those usual features you have on your phone system are there. But actually, with Microsoft Teams, you can do more. You can implement something like a callback. So if your customers are waiting in a queue to get in touch with you and they've waited too long, you can play a message to them and enable them to action a button to request a callback rather than sit and wait. There is also the ability to integrate your out of office with your email. So if you have your email out of office on, you can have an out of office on your phone. So if someone calls you during that out of office period, it will play a message to them to let them know how long you're going to be out of office, which is something that traditionally we don't have on our phone systems. So there is lots of features that you can unpick and see in more detail with this system. And if you do want to learn a bit more around what it looks like and undertake a full demo of the solution, please do get in touch with Dan, Michael, and the rest of the team. We also use Teams as businesses because it facilitates flexibility. It enables your staff to answer calls on the move, whether they're working from home, whether they're traveling to a meeting, whether they're just walking around the office. They can pick up a call when they're moving between rooms or outside. That Microsoft Teams application on the mobile is often overlooked because we're so familiar with it being a desktop application, but actually it can be much more than that. The two on the right-hand side are probably where we've seen the biggest changes in terms of businesses and certainly, I guess, purchasing motives. AI is the big word on the marketplace, and you probably can't join any call, any webinar, attend any event without the word AI being mentioned. So I apologize for that. But businesses will be making investments into Copilot, into Teams Premium, and these applications have some significant value when you move your business phone system into Microsoft Teams. Because the beauty of this, the investments you make into Copilot and Teams Premium will absolutely work on your phone system. I will go through some of the capabilities that having Copilot, having Teams Premium alongside a phone system in Microsoft Teams and the benefits that can give you later in the session. And then finally, that reputable brand that we all know Microsoft, we all know the logo, whether that be from Microsoft Teams, whether that be from wider applications and services they service in our everyday life. But that brand is recognizable. It's a trusted brand. And beneath that trusted brand is a significant research and development budget. There is a huge team of developers globally who are working to enhance the capabilities of this platform as a telephony system. And why that matters to you is that research and development will mean that if you invest in a phone system today, you move from your old system. I appreciate that would be a big change. But the beauty of this system and the power of the brand behind it, which is Microsoft, it enables you to not stand still. You will always be kept at the forefront of the communications market because new features are coming all the time. In fact, I fell foul to this many a time where I've been on a meeting demonstrating the platform and a new feature has appeared within my platform. It just shows you how that evolution is continuing to help keep businesses at the forefront. But how does it all piece together? Well, it's pieced together in three ways. First and foremost, you've got your 365 license. I'm sure those of you on today's session will quite possibly already have some 365 licensing deployed to your users. And that might be business standard, that might be business premium. You might be on the enterprise grade licensing, E1, E3, or possibly even the A licensing for academic, A1, E3. That license gives you Teams fundamentally, but it also gives you all sorts of applications like PowerPoint, Word, you name it. But fundamentally, you need Teams. Then you need an upgrade of your Microsoft licensing to enable the software capabilities that I've just talked about being developed all the time. That's things like your dial pad, your auto attendance, your hunt groups, your voicemails, all of those traditional phone system features that you'll have possibly on a separate platform today will be embedded into your Teams application with the addition of that license. And then there is the Operator Connect license. That is the license that gives you the VoIP, that ability to actually make a call over the Gamma voice network and connect to your customers' landlines, mobiles, but actually giving that business presence over the PSTN network to your clients. Piecing that all together gives you that unified communication inside of Microsoft Teams. And I kind of touched on some of the features before, but I just want to highlight three key features that I personally think are often overlooked. One of them I've already mentioned, that callback on queues, that ability to actually break out of a queue as a caller if you've waited too long or there's too many people in the queue. Rather than utilizing my time, I might want to get on with something and ask for a callback rather than just sit and wait and listen to that hold music. We've all been there where we've got fed up at listening to hold music when we're trying to get in touch with somebody. The middle one, consult and transfer. You might think, transfer, that's a basic feature. We expect that on every system. And I would absolutely agree with that. But where I think Teams really excels is that on every call you receive, so if I receive a call and I'm trying to transfer to a colleague, I can see the presence of that colleague. So as you can see on the screen, you can see Barry there. I can see if he's available, if he's away, if he's busy. And that helps me to make a decision of how I'm going to transfer that call. If Barry's available, so he's green, then yeah, we can just start a call with him, and that will enable me to consult Barry and explain what the call is calling about. Whereas if Barry was on red, we might use the chat function. And that chat function enables us to actually still contact our colleague, even though they're in a meeting or a call, to say this is an important call, any chance you can pick that up. So you can do that consult using the calling or via chat. In addition to that, there is also blind transfer capabilities, parking of calls. There's all sorts of other functionality that I can show you. I only have time to cherry pick a few key features today. The other one is where you manage the phone system, all occurs in the Teams Admin Center. So that is secure, only accessible to your admins. And that is where you'd manage the entirety of the phone system. However, if you wanted to give more departmental access, so say you have a sales manager who wants to manage the sales group, then you can absolutely do that. and you can give them authorized user permissions so they can change possibly opening hours of their team. They could possibly change greeting messages. They could change whether you're receiving calls or not. Say you wanted to take the calls for the sales line off because we've got an all-team meeting. These are the sorts of capabilities that this system has within the platform. So fundamentally, Teams Phone enhances your Teams experience. But how do we actually make it work? Well, the answer is with Operator Connect. Operator Connect is Microsoft's certified way of providing voice to the Microsoft Teams platform. And we do that using Operator Connect. Operator Connect is basically a framework that Microsoft set out and predefined that basically invited vendors across the globe to build their infrastructure, connect into Microsoft in certain approved ways, have Microsoft certified infrastructure to ensure that you get full quality of service on all of your calls, to ensure it is reliable, to ensure it is stable, to ensure there is resiliency. And that is absolutely what our Operator Connect solution is. And if anyone does want to test us on that or see some diagrams, details around the network and the infrastructure, just reach out to Michael and the team. We're more than happy to share that with you. One other thing that's really important is it enables you to call landlines and mobiles. I've mentioned that numerous times today. But what is actually even more powerful is that as part of our solution, we offer an all-inclusive minutes bundle. Whether you're calling UK Geo, UK Mobile, or international, we can include those calls in a bundle for you so that you can make calls to any destination from the Teams platform. And finally, the bit in the bottom right that isn't as bold as I would like it to be, so I blame myself and my poor content designing, is that built-in disaster recovery for Ciptrum Call Manager. That is an additional platform that we enable as part of this solution. And the reason we enable this is that if ever Teams has an issue, which touch wood it doesn't, but if there was a problem with your incoming calls reaching to Microsoft Teams and your users, this platform is a built-in resiliency platform that sits at the network level, so ahead of Teams, and can redivert your traffic to an alternative destination if that is ever needed. And you might think, why am I mentioning that on today's call? It's just really important to think about the what ifs and giving you that resiliency and assurance that in any scenario, this solution will be fit for purpose for you and your organization. So if you would like to see a demonstration, please do get in touch. We can absolutely go through the platform. It is very much Teams. And the one thing I wanted to highlight on this screen is that it can be the desktop app. It can be the web browser version. It can be the mobile app. It can also be a handset. Lots of people overlook that Teams is just a desktop application. If you have users or a business that is more traditional, like that handset on the desk, that is absolutely not a barrier to moving to the system. You can have a hybrid approach of users using Teams on the desk phones and users using Teams on the desktop clients. And this is exactly what I'm going to mention here. So we have a service suite that we offer as part of our proposition that you can add on to ensure that you get the requirements you need, to ensure that you can fulfill all of your employees' needs as an individual, and also ensure that you can get the right capability, resource, reporting that you need as a business. So I'm just going to very quickly give you a high level what each one of these are. So Poly and Yealink you might have heard of before because you might be using some of their products today. These are our hardware providers. So these two brands have hardware that is built specifically for Microsoft Teams. So any device that we would supply to you would be Microsoft certified devices. That can be handsets, that can be headsets, both wired, both wireless. That can also be meeting rooms. So if you've got a meeting system, you might want to implement a video bar. These are all capabilities that we can provide to you via Poly and Yealink. And then we have the other three on the screen. They are all software applications that we use to complement the Microsoft Teams system. So we've got Red Cactus. That is essentially an integration platform, whereby if you're embracing Teams for telephony, and then you have a CRM, whether that be Salesforce, whether that be HubSpot, whether that be Street, whatever it may be, we can use Red Cactus to enable integration so that your CRM platform is integrated with the Teams telephony system as well. Just to highlight, I mentioned three there. That doesn't mean it's only three. There is over 200 that we can integrate with today, and that is ever expanding as we progress. And the other two at the bottom, these are common requests we get from clients when moving to this system. We need compliant call recording. We record all of our calls for compliance or for training, for monitoring. That is where Dubber comes in. Dubber is a Microsoft compliant call recording solution that can record your calls, can transcribe your calls, can summarize your calls, can give you sentiment analysis to say whether it's positive or negative. It can do an awful lot as a system. It's not just recording your calls, it's also storing them with unlimited storage and retention. This is all of the flexibility that you have with this platform. And again, these are platforms that we can demo to you separately. If you'd like a follow-up, just reach out. And finally on the screen, last but not least, is Akixi. Akixi is a reporting platform. So where Teams has some innate reporting, a lot of the reporting is the raw data, and then you have to export it into an Excel or Power BI and do something clever with it to possibly make it consumable and easy for everyone in the business to understand. Whereas Akixi is the absolute opposite to that. That is a out-the-box reporting system with over, I think over 150 reports on there, which can be live dashboards to show you how many calls are waiting in a queue, who's on the phone at any given time, to just simple basic reports of showing you how many calls have been answered, missed, how many calls have waited more than 3 minutes. This can be done on a user level or also your group level. So if you want to see how many calls sales have missed, again, that can be done. So there's a huge amount of power in the service wrap that we can provide you to enable that we meet your requirements and functionality as an organization. And finally, my final section is where I'm going to talk about how capability can be enhanced with some of the licensing that some of you may already have from Microsoft, or possibly some license you might be considering, or some license you may have never heard of. And first and foremost, I'm going to talk about Teams Premium. So many of you may use Teams Premium for the customized meetings experience you can see on the left, where you use Teams for essentially when you join a meeting, it's customized background, logo, you name it. Some of you may also use Teams Premium for what you can see on the right, the meeting summarization and capabilities. So that's things like giving you actions after a call, summarizing the call. Great tools that we may use every single day without even realizing. But in the middle is Call Queues app, and I'll be impressed if many of you have heard of this, because this is, I say relatively new, it's probably been around for about 2 years now, thinking back, but it's gradually evolving and becoming more and more powerful. But the reason why I'm highlighting this to you today is that if you have Teams phone, so Teams Telephony with Operator Connect, and you have Teams Premium on a user, they will get this Call Queues app as just part of it. So it's something that if you have both of these already, you might just get this as an addition. And what Call Queues app does is it gives you call queues reporting. So you can report on how many calls have come in, what agents have answered calls to each queue, how many calls are actually waiting, how long they've waited for. You can get auto attendant reporting to see how many calls have went to option 1, option 2, option 3. So this is all sorts of reporting that you can get as an organization if you have Teams Premium as well as Teams Phone. The other bit is where actually Teams Premium can be very valuable to create the sort of supervisor capability. So if you have a manager of a team, they can have the ability to call monitor, call whisper, call barge. So that's where you might use it for listening, for coaching, for training staff. These are the sorts of capabilities that are available in the platform that come within this license. Also the ability to manage queue. So you can see how many calls have been missed on a shared queue. So say you're the sales team, you can see how many calls are missed, and then you can assign them to users. So unresolved means it's a missed call. We can then put in progress because we've assigned that to a user. And that's some of the capability that we have within that shared call history. And finally, in the platform, one of the features I didn't mention is you can give the ability and responsibility to your users within a group to opt in and opt out of a queue as a user. So if I was going on lunch, I could opt out. If you're implementing that feature and using that within a group or within the organization, you can also use Teams Premium to give that kind of supervisor, that manager license, where they can actually opt in and opt out people on their behalf. So that is exactly what comes within Teams Premium. So this can be used as how you can build a kind of manager role within the organization. It goes without saying, like the whole platform, it is very agile. So you can choose which features you want to use, which features you don't want to use. So if you were giving Teams Premium access and you didn't want to give someone access to do any of this stuff, but they just had the reporting, again, you can do that. The platform is yours. If you use this, the platform is yours, you're in control, and you control that all via the Teams Admin Center, which helps streamline that administration behind the scenes. And I can't do you can't go anywhere without this thing being mentioned, Copilot. Whether you're watching the football on the TV or whether you're going to an event, Copilot is mentioned everywhere. And Copilot has a huge amount of value. And as I said right at the start, Copilot does have an effect on telephony. So I'm just going to give you a quick snapshot of what Copilot can do, but please do, I must emphasize this is not everything that Copilot does. Those of you are using it, you will know that it can help build slides, etc. It can help rewrite emails, you name it. But from a phone perspective, some of the key things have just popped on the screen. So you can have it, on a call. So if I'm walking to a meeting, I'm on the phone on the Teams app, speaking to a customer, and then I jump into a meeting for two hours. I might actually forget what I discussed on that call and forget some actions. With Copilot can help to recap that. So when I come back to my desk or back in the office, I can see what that conversation was about and ensure I don't miss the actions. So that's one simple, tangible, helping hand that Copilot can do. And that is exactly why it is your Copilot, because it's there to help you. The other one that I think is probably invaluable to mention is when you transfer a call, you can use a button that if you've been speaking to a customer and you're going to transfer to a colleague, you can tick a button for it to summarize and give the call context of the previous call to the person that you are transferring to. But that is just a very quick snapshot of where Copilot can have that effect. But just really to emphasize, these additional services that are already within the Microsoft ecosystem can enable you to do more with Teams Phone and help you to be more productive and efficient within the platform. So that is everything from me in my section. I'm going to finally hand it back over to Michael and Dan to just summarize the webinar.
Thank you, Matthew. Just take control. Here we go. So for people that haven't yet are still running traditional phone systems, that you've got the lines that are coming in, PSTN lines, you should be aware of it by now because alarm system companies, internet providers, IT will have been in contact to say we need to do something about this by January 2027. The other main point that we've covered today, it's one platform. You're already in Teams for chat. You can then add phone calls into that. The app is going to travel with the laptop wherever people are working, or with their mobile phone as well. It's easy to use. We can securely set it up so it works with personal phones as well, so that somebody can use their personal phone as a business phone and keep it completely separate without revealing their number. And by working with Gamma and the Operator Connect system, you've got that extra layer of disaster recovery. One of the things that stopped us in the past from making a recommendation to use Teams until this model came along was that worry that you have all of your comms in Microsoft. And although it rarely goes down, 99.9% uptime is not 100. But this delivery model gives us an option where if there is, in the rare case, an issue with Teams or with Microsoft, we can still get your calls through to somebody's number to be able to handle it. So now it's just an opportunity if we've got any questions, Dan.
None at the moment. Yeah, we can give people
I'll give you 30 seconds to think about that. Going back across the things that I've really liked in the system so far, definitely once you add that call recording in, call recording in the past, the way that I've used it, or I've seen it used is somebody queries something that happened in a phone, you go into a system, you search through by hour and time, you download it, you listen for it painstakingly, you write down what happened. Dubber using the AI features and just having a summary of calls right in front of you helps you get to the call quicker. Having the transcript means that you don't even need to listen through the call. You can jump right to where you are. And then having that AI sentiment analysis, was the caller happy? Were they unhappy? You can see that trend over time. And being able to pick out either complaints or sales, depending on what's the most important thing for how you use your phone system, and being able to view that over time really gives you a lot of insight to how conversations are happening with clients that before you just would completely miss out on. The Teams summary feature as well for meetings, really useful. You can come up with custom action points. You can come out with a custom format for exactly how you want your meeting notes to come out. There's a lot more to do with it in there with Copilot. And for those people that are on Business Premium, at the moment you can get Copilot added on for about £6 or £7 a month, which compared to any of the other AI chat assistants is about half. So there's a really big advantage there to bundling as much as possible with Microsoft. You get some really, really competitive pricing and a lot of features and value for money there. Okay, I think we've covered everything effectively because we don't have any questions. So thank you very much, Matty, and thank you all for coming on the call. Cool.